The Tale of Miyoshi no Haruka and His Fear of Snakes, Chapter 32. Once upon a time, there was a man named Miyoshi no Haruka who served in Yamashiro. It was said that in a past life he may have been a toad, for he had an intense fear of snakes. While most people are afraid of snakes, Haruka's fear was so extreme that he appeared to go mad at the sight of one. One summer, a few nobles were gathered near the Tatsumi corner of the dining hall, enjoying the coolness and sharing stories. Haruka was also present. As they chatted, a 3-foot-long black snake slithered out from the nearby trees. The nobles, noticing it, called out, "Look, Haruka!" Haruka, initially trying to ignore it, finally glanced over. The moment he spotted the snake just a foot away from him, his face turned the color of rotten indigo, and he made an odd, pained noise before he could muster the strength to stand. As he tried to rise, he collapsed twice. Struggling, he finally got up and fled without putting on his sandals, running out the eastern gate of the dining hall. He dashed north, then west, running down the street to the west of Doin, then heading south to the bottom of Nishidoin. His house was on the west side of the Doin, and he burst inside, leaving his family in shock, asking, "What on earth happened?" But he didn't answer them. Without even changing his clothes, he collapsed on the floor, unable to think straight. They offered him water, but he could not drink it, clenching his teeth too tightly. His body felt as hot as fire. Seeing this, his family was terrified, thinking, "This is strange." As Haruka's followers were still unaware of the situation and hiding, one palace attendant, recalling the commotion, remarked, "It must be something serious." As he entered Haruka's house, the family questioned him about Haruka's frantic arrival. The attendant explained he saw a snake and ran away. The others were hiding because of the cold, and he must have thought, "I can't leave him behind," and hurried here. The family responded, "This has happened before. He must be truly afraid of such things," and they laughed. Eventually, more people gathered at the house. What could have been the cause of such fear? For a person of rank to run wildly down the main road, breathless and gasping, was something that amused the onlookers. About a month later, Haruka visited the dining hall again, and his demeanor was agitated and restless. People noticed and exchanged glances, chuckling at his anxious appearance. Thus, the tale of Haruka's fear of snakes became well known. Snakes do not harm people suddenly, but the sheer panic they incited was something everyone could understand. Yet Haruka's reaction was so extreme that it became a story passed down through the years. The Tale of Kiyoshi no Suketaka and the Turtle Incident, Chapter 33. Once upon a time, there was a man named Kiyoshi no Suketaka who rose from a lowly position to become the deputy minister of the treasury and later received a court rank. In his youth, he had borrowed rice from others, returning it with interest over the years until he accumulated a large amount, becoming known as the 10,000 stone minister. One day, while in Bingo province for some business, he and his attendants went to the beach to fish. There they caught a turtle with a shell about a foot wide. His attendants began to play with the turtle, and among them was a 50-year-old man who had a peculiar fondness for strange things. Upon seeing the turtle, this man exclaimed, "This is my old wife's runaway servant. Here she is." He took the turtle by its sides and lifted it, causing its limbs to retract beneath its shell. As he pulled its neck in, only a tiny part of its mouth remained visible. The man then began to playfully mimic a child, saying, "Turtle, turtle, why haven't you come to the river? I've missed you so much. Let me kiss you." He brought his lips close to the turtle's small mouth, intending to kiss it. Suddenly, the turtle thrust its neck out and clamped its upper and lower jaws down on the man's lips. He tried to pull away, but the turtle's jaws tightened even more. The man cried out in a muffled voice, tears streaming down his face, unable to escape. His companions rushed to help, attempting to strike the turtle's shell with the backs of their swords, but the turtle only clamped down harder. The man struggled helplessly, while some onlookers laughed at the bizarre situation. In the midst of this chaos, one brave man swiftly cut through the turtle's neck. The turtle's body fell, but its neck remained attached and continued to clamp down on the man's lips. They forced a knife into the side of the turtle's mouth to break it free. Finally, they managed to separate the turtle's neck and jaw from the rest of its body. Blood gushed from the man's lips, resembling black ichor, and after the ordeal, they boiled lotus leaves to treat his wounds, which became severely swollen. For a long time afterward, he suffered from the effects. Upon hearing this, people began to gossip, saying, "How tragic!" They did not sympathize with the man who had previously been known for his oddities. This unusual event became a topic of ridicule, especially as he was seen as someone who enjoyed peculiarities. Reflecting on this incident, it was clear that the turtle's neck was only about 4 to 5 inches long. To try to suck from such a small mouth was surely unwise. This tale serves as a warning to others not to engage in such foolish and dangerous antics as they may lead to ridicule and misfortune. Thus, the story has been passed down. The Tale of Chikuzen no Kami Fujiwara Akie and the Mistaken Feast, Chapter 34. Once upon a time, there was a man named Fujiwara who served as the governor of Chikuzen. His father was named Sadonari, also a governor of Chikuzen. In those days, Akie was still a young nobleman, not yet holding any official title, and known as Shiro-kun, living in the palace. At that time, there was a handsome and imposing samurai named Takakatsu, known for his long beard and striking appearance, who often showed off his martial skills. One day, during a gathering in the palace where many samurai were present, Akie had finished his meal and was distributing leftover food to the attendants. Takakatsu, sitting nearby, noticed that some food remained in Aki's bowl. He pointed at it and said, "I shall take some of that for the others," not realizing the impropriety of his words. Instead of transferring the food to his own bowl, he forgot himself and began to eat directly from Aki's bowl. The other samurai, witnessing this, whispered among themselves, "What is he doing, eating from the Lord's bowl?" At that moment, Takakatsu realized his mistake, thinking, "Indeed, I have erred." In his embarrassment, he decided to hide his blunder by spitting some of the food back into the Lord's bowl. However, this only made things worse, as it was now contaminated with his saliva. His long beard got caught in the process, making it even more disgusting. The other samurai watched in disbelief and burst into laughter outside. Takakatsu, who was normally quite clever, seemed to lose his composure in this situation. From that point on, he was thought to have diminished in reputation due to this incident. This tale serves as a reminder that even skilled warriors can act foolishly when they let their minds wander. Thus, it has been passed down as a lesson. Whatever one does, one must act with urgency and awareness. The Tale of Ukon and the Horse Race Challenge, Chapter 35. Once upon a time, during the reign of Emperor Goichijo, the courtiers and the servants of the imperial household gathered to hold a horse racing competition, dividing themselves into 2 teams. The leaders of the teams were Fujiwara no Shigeri on the left and Minamoto no Akitake on the right. After making this division, they began to challenge one another. As the day of the competition approached, the participants searched far and wide for rare and precious items from temples, provinces, and both the capital and the countryside, gathering them with great excitement. Not only the courtiers, but also the servants were engaged in this frenzy, treating each other as rivals. Once the teams were set, they refrained from discussing anything other than the competition itself. When the day finally arrived, the gathering took place at Ukon no Baba, where all participants made their way to the location, prepared for the event. The courtiers donned exquisite garments and traveled in carriages while the arrangements for the event were meticulously planned in advance. A beautiful pavilion was erected, decorated with brocade, and all necessary items for the race were placed inside. The courtiers were seated according to their team divisions, while the servants also gathered, displaying their finest clothing. Spectators filled the area, and the excitement was palpable, with people from all walks of life coming to watch. Among them was the chancellor, who, disguised as a woman, stood to observe the festivities from a raised platform. As the time for the races approached, seating was arranged and conversations were held about the competition. Participants had spared no expense in preparing for the event, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation. Just then, from the left team, a courtier's retainer named Konoe no Shitoku entered the ring wearing exquisite racing attire and riding a beautifully decorated horse. The crowd was captivated by this spectacle. As he maneuvered around the area, another participant emerged from the right team, an elderly priest, dressed in tattered racing attire, with an unkempt appearance and a dead fish tied to his waist, riding a cow. Seeing this, Konoe was incensed and declared, "This is an embarrassment. How dare you bring such disgrace to our competition?" He then attempted to strike the old man. At that moment, the right team erupted in laughter as though they had just witnessed a great comedy. Their joyous reaction only fueled the anger of Konoe, who shouted, "What sort of mockery is this?" In response, the left team initiated a series of improvised performances, reminiscent of traditional theatrical plays. Even though they had prepared their own dance routine, they were compelled to respond to the ridicule. The chancellor, witnessing the commotion, remarked, "This is unusual," and ordered his attendants to capture the dancer who had disrupted the proceedings. However, the dancer, still in costume, fled on horseback, escaping westward. As he ran, people in the streets remarked, "Look, a demon rides in broad daylight." Some children were frightened and even fainted at the sight. The chancellor, realizing that the competition had yet to conclude, attempted to call for order. But the dancer, misinterpreting the command, fled despite the call for him to be restrained. Later, the situation escalated and the dancer, now unrecognizable due to his disguise, was widely discussed among the people. Ultimately, this incident became a legendary tale, illustrating that such challenges and competitions have always carried the potential for unexpected events and comedic outcomes. Thus, it has been passed down as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of rivalry. The Tale of the Priest Gikyo of Mudo Temple on Mount Hiei. Once upon a time, on Mount Hiei, there was a monk named Gikyo who was known for his deep practice of the esoteric teachings and had secluded himself in Mudo Temple since his youth. He rarely ventured into the capital, and as the years passed, he hardly ever stepped outside his quarters. His presence was so esteemed that even the noblest of individuals dared not enter his presence. People believed we should pray only to him. This priest, although he could write ai, a kind of painting with a brush, the tale did so in a way that lacked the essence of true ai. The calligraphy he produced appeared effortless, yet its charm and elegance were beyond compare. However, he did not write on ordinary paper. If someone insisted on using paper to write, he would only produce a single object. When asked to write, he would depict an archer's figure at the edge, and at the back, there would be a target. In the middle, he would draw the path of an arrow with fine ink. The one tasked with writing did not say, "I won't write," but when he transferred the ink to the paper, he expressed great displeasure, insisting that nothing foreign should be written. Thus, he grew quite angry, but ultimately nothing came of it. Due to his somewhat eccentric nature, he was not widely accepted by the public. He only earned the reputation of being an unparalleled master of I, and he studied the esoteric teachings diligently, but remained unknown as a noble figure. Those who truly understood his worth recognized him as extraordinary, while others merely regarded him as an A artist. Meanwhile, as the ceremonies at Mudo Temple were held, after a week of practices, the priest distributed rice cakes meant for offerings among the monks. Gikyo, being one of the middle-ranking priests, shared them with a favored disciple of the head priest named Keihan, who was the son of Fujiwara no Kimasu, the governor of Shimotsuke. Young and handsome, Keihan was cherished by the head priest, leading him to act rather presumptuously. When Gikyo allotted only a small portion of the rice cakes to him, Keihan became greatly angered, exclaiming, "Why does this priest give me so little? Such an unusual priest, an old man who doesn't know his place, just like a fox. How foolish of him! I should teach this old fool a lesson. Let me show others how he behaves." One of Gikyo's devoted disciples, hearing this, feared what shame would befall the old priest. He hurriedly went to inform Gikyo. Upon receiving this news, Gikyo's face darkened with concern, and he said, "What can I do about this? How pitiful! In that case, before making any declarations, let me write a letter of apology." He then quickly opened his writing box, took out 4 pieces of fine paper, and began to write. He rolled it up, tied it, and on the top sheet wrote, "To the room of the esteemed priest Gikyo," and sent it through the messenger. Meanwhile, people gathered in the head priest's room discussing, "We must determine the practices for February." The messenger presented the letter, saying, "This is a letter for the esteemed priest Gikyo." Upon hearing this, Keihan